Welcome to my office. Talk about behind the scenes. This week, I am definitely filming right here in my office, and I thought I would let you take just a quick video look. I took one of our guest bedrooms and converted this into my office space. I love it, you guys. It's at the top of the stairs. And so I basically have this entire second floor to myself because we have my office up here. I have a full bathroom here. I've got a kind of TV entertainment room here and then another guest bedroom. So my husband works downstairs when he has to work from home. And then I get this entire space. Oh, and look at the babies. Hang on. They're wrestling. Can you see that? Let me see if I can turn this around. There are the babies. They've been wrestling, of course, now that mommy is videotaping them. Are they doing it? No. Thanks, y'all. Making me out to be a liar. Come on, let's see you wrestle. That's how come I have to stop the podcast when you guys are making too much noise. They love to be up here with me. So yeah, again, I hope that you enjoy the behind the scenes. In fact, I was just talking to a friend of mine who listens to the podcast, and she was saying how much she was enjoying it. And when I told her about the behind the scenes, she was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. So I'm going to continue to do the behind the scenes on YouTube. I think you guys would enjoy the unedited version. And I've had, again, some very positive comments about that. So I hope you enjoy it. Again, here is my office space, and I'm going to insert some pictures in here as well. But I love my office. I love everything about it. This is, I didn't get a chance to show you. This is my, oh gosh, I have trouble with, I hope I'm not making y'all dizzy. This is my favorite reading corner right here. I absolutely love it. So this is literally where I will sit down with my show notes, kind of read through it. I also have them up on my computer just to kind of refer to them. But you guys, this chair, I don't know if you can tell from the way I'm videotaping this. I am not a good videographer. Oh my gosh. Anyway, hang on a second. Okay, that's a little bit better. So you can see the chair. I love it. It's so comfy. I take those back pillows out so I can actually get my entire body in that chair. This desk, or this little side table, is so amazing. It's got drink holders right here, extra plugins back there. So it's just the perfect side table to go over my research and my notes and then get ready for the podcast. And here's another fun corner of my office. I've actually had client meetings up here. Okay, now they're wrestling. Did you hear that? So it's really great because we can sit there. I've got my coffee bar. And listen, if you guys know me, or if you don't know this yet, this is so true. Okay, I am definitely all about the coffee. So I love having a coffee bar up here in my office so I can enjoy my afternoon coffee. But yeah, this works out so great, you guys, to actually have a seating area. I'm going to be shopping for a coffee table. When I do find the perfect coffee table for up here, I'll show you guys that. And this is one of my favorite corners. Here are some of my favorite group pictures. This is pictures. These are pictures of my staff. One of my favorite staffs I ever had the privilege of supervising. And these were some pictures they signed for me. This is us having lots of fun on one of our work days, our workshop days. And then this is just like us smiling, but they all signed it. And then this is one of my favorite gifts. Literally, it says, don't make me cut you, because they know that if you are in this inner circle, so to speak, and then here's some other really cute things that they did as a going away gift for me. But they know if you are in the inner circle, I will cut you if you mess with me or my peeps. So that's always been a running joke. But anyway, and then we've got the great views from upstairs. I love being able to look out on our property. So when I'm sitting over here, again, hopefully I'm not getting you sick. When I'm sitting over here from my desk, my computer here is my view. I just love it, you guys. I'm all about that. So that's kind of like the mini grand tour. I do want to put curtains up. I've got a lot of clutter still going on in my office area that's driving me crazy. So I'm going to show you, oh, of course, you've got to have the perfect lighting, but this is kind of my setup. Love this. I have this in the background. I don't know if you guys can tell what it says. I love this. Oh, hello week. Let's do this. dream big. And you see this all the time in the background, but you may not be able to read it. And I love that. Not wish for it, work for it. I definitely believe in all that. And of course, I have to have my book on display there. So I hope you enjoyed that quick little tour. I hope I didn't get you too dizzy. But this is where I film the podcast most of the time, where I record my episodes. I've got my fancy microphone here and the pop filter, the boom arm, all of the things. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of a quick tour of the office. I am going to start recording podcast episodes more often when I travel, because I'm trying to get on a really consistent schedule. So if you do like the episodes coming out every week, be sure to comment and let me know, especially on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up. That is my goal. I do want to put out a new episode for you each and every week instead of every other week. And when I do put them out, you guys, if you don't know this about your girl here, I'm all about starting your work week off on the right foot. So I'm all about a happy Monday. I think we do a terrible job getting people excited about work when they hear us complain all the time and just counting the days till Friday. So I've got lots of videos on my YouTube channel about that, called the Monday Huddle. Lots of great content for you, so be sure to check that out. So I'm going to try to make sure I'm putting out a new episode as close to every Monday as I can, so you have that to look forward to as you get ready for the work week. All right, you guys, let's get started on recording today's episode.
Are you a strong, independent woman who's passionate about her career? Then this podcast is perfect for you. Based on her book, The Career Woman's Secret Playbook, career coach Dr. Dawn Hamby shares the kind of insider secrets you can only know if you've hired, fired, and promoted employees over the past 30 years.
Ladies, I'm on a mission to help busy women just like you create a career and life you love without sacrificing your work-life balance to get it. Come join me as we inspire and motivate each other only as women can, and have lots of fun along the way.
With Dr. Dawn's tools, strategies, and action steps, you can unleash your personal and professional power in a whole new way. Here's today's episode.
All right, you guys, so let's get to it. I'm going to put my readers on so I can pull up those show notes. I always like to kind of write some things out and then just share additional information with you, but at least have sort of like a framework so I can make sure I share as many tips with you that I know work. And have worked not just for my clients, but also for myself, family, friends, you name it. So I always like to write things out for you guys so that I can give you plenty of value and lots of important information. So let me take another sip of my coffee. I should have shown you my hot plate, because I bring that with me everywhere, even when I record from hotel rooms. It's just so nice to keep your coffee hot. Okay. Let me get these suckers back on. I've probably already pushed that a little bit. That's the kind of the filter to help on the letter P. So it's not just so, when it comes out in the microphone, it sounds pretty harsh. The pop filter. All right, let me pull up the notes, and then you guys will get started. And again, you're going to hear me make tons of bloopers, I'm sure, on the way. I also will slow down and kind of pause in between so I don't lose my breath, and that the audio version hopefully continues to come in really well. So I'm not a professional voiceover person. I've been told that I should be, and maybe just because people are really nice to me that are in my life. But I have done some voiceover work and I enjoy it. So, hey, if you love it and people want you to do it, why not? Okay, you guys, let's get started. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode. See, I already said welcome, weird. Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of the Career Woman's Secret Playbook podcast. This is your place to find quick tips on how to live your life with more passion and purpose. On this podcast, you and I are going to talk about a variety of issues that you may be facing in the workplace, and these issues could really be affecting your success. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn, CEO and founder of Dr. Dawn Shop Talk. Shop Talk is a career consulting company. We specialize in corporate training, professional development, and one-on-one career coaching.
So you guys, every topic we talk about on this podcast is right up our alley because these are the very issues that we help our clients tackle. Whether we're making a presentation at a business, or maybe conducting a workshop at a university, or even just working one-on-one with our career professionals, topics like these are so important because a deeper dive on these issues are going to help you uncover your power, both professionally and personally. Now, something else I want to tell you about, I want to make a quick announcement. You guys, we've gotten such positive feedback on the behind the scenes version of our podcast. That is a YouTube version. Okay, a video version of what I'm doing right now. And in that version on our YouTube channel, just head over to Dr. Dawn's Shop Talk on YouTube. So you would just look for this. In fact, I'll probably create a playlist just for the podcast for you guys, but I've got lots of different playlists on the channel. So tons of videos, everything from mindset to time management to creating healthy boundaries at work and at home. All of that is right there on the YouTube channel for you. But I thought it would be fun to not only create a video version of this every time we drop a new episode, but instead of editing that version for you, I thought it would be fun for you to see the behind the scenes. So if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to comment. Let us know if the unedited version is too long. And if that's the case, listen, we can do, a cleaned up version for you as well. Okay. But anyway, be sure to check that out if you'd like to see the video. And in this week's episode, I actually give you a tour of my home office. Last week, you might remember that on last week's episode, I actually recorded that from the hotel room. My husband and I do a lot of traveling for work. And so I'm trying to bring my podcast equipment with me so that I can hopefully get a new episode out to you every Monday. We do drop new episodes on Monday. So if you're new here and you're wondering about that, yes, we want you to subscribe so you don't miss out. And I try to go ahead and drop those episodes on Monday for you so that you can start your week off on the right foot. Now, if you're a fan of our YouTube channel, you already know we have a show called the Monday Huddle. And I created tons of video content for you to help you start your week off on the right foot. I think the philosophy we have about Monday is really messed up. So check that out for more information. But in the meantime, we want you to bring your A game to the office because when you don't, you guys, it's so easy to get overwhelmed and stressed. And next thing you know, that's going to spill over right into your personal life. So with all that in mind, tell me, how is your career going? That's what I'm really passionate about. I love helping people feel valued at work, feel that they're making a contribution, because every time an individual does, it definitely is going to increase that company's bottom line, not just because profitability and productivity are going to go up, and that definitely goes hand in hand most of the time, but also because when folks feel really connected to their work and to the people they work with, that organizational culture can make or break a company. Because if you feel valued, and we've talked about issues like this already. In fact, I'll probably have an upcoming episode all about how to turn things around in terms of your organizational culture. A lot of companies are reaching out to me for workshops on that because it's so important, right? So if you're feeling really good about the work family you've created for yourself, then when times are lean, and you're having to do more with less, you're willing to stick it out. If you're not, then you end up with that whole phenomenon about people who are slowly quitting, right? They're taking up space, but they're barely doing the work because they're so frustrated. So you guys, we don't want that to happen to you. If you're a faithful listener to our podcast, we definitely want you to feel your best. We appreciate all of your support. In fact, along those lines, will you do us a favor? You guys, we would absolutely love it if you would take the time to rate rate and review our podcast. We're relatively new, so the more often we get those 5-star ratings and people leave us reviews, and oh my goodness, we've gotten some amazing reviews. I'm going to give a shout out to my good friend Dawn. Now, I'm not just saying that because she and I share the same name, but we really connected. We were like instant friends. We met in Cabo, of all places, on vacation, and she became a faithful listener, wrote us the most beautiful review. But you guys, it really not only means the world to us, but definitely helps us get our message out to more folks just like you, who are really not only wanting to kind of up their game, but they're wanting to connect to a community of professionals that really want to be their best at work and just have that work-life balance as much as possible, okay? In fact, if you're looking for more info about work-life balance, we do have an episode about that. And we, our feelings about that. It's kind of an illusion, but there are ways that you can create more balance for yourself. So check that out. I think that's episode 3, but I'll put it in the show notes below just to be sure. Okay, you guys, remember to subscribe again so you don't miss out. And if you don't know this, I already have tons of resources for you for free right there on our website to help you on your journey. Okay. And so check that out. You can go to drdawnshoptalk.com and again, look at our resources page, print off those downloadables right there for you. And I think it's really going to help. I'll be sure to include that link, by the way, and the link to the book our podcast is actually based on in those show notes below. So you can scroll on down and check that out. All right, you guys, are you ready to get into it? I know I am, so let's get started. Now, you might remember that in last week's episode, we looked at the power of belief, and more specifically, how those disempowering beliefs could be standing in your way right now to your success. So this week, it really makes sense that we would be looking at how to uncover your grit, because you can't even really start to look at all of those disempowering beliefs unless you have found ways to knock down those barriers, right? Those disempowering beliefs, or those previous barriers, in other words, are going to be standing in your way unless you've taken those action steps we talked about in last week's episode. Hopefully you took that 14-day challenge and you've spent at least the past 7 days replacing those negative beliefs with positive ones. And if you've been working on your action plan, you should now be ready to go. You're at least halfway there at the very least, and ready to uncover your grit. Now, if you're sitting there going, I've heard about grit, I don't really know what it is. Don't worry about that. We're going to actually start by not only defining it, but as a former history teacher, I thought it would be fun to give you just a little background, just a short history lesson. I know sometimes people groan when it comes to history. I mean, I love history, obviously, because I was a history teacher for many years. So in any event, let me give you a short history lesson. Grit became a hot topic in the personal and professional development space. Okay, let me rephrase that. Grit became a hot topic in the personal and professional development space ever since Angela Duckworth's 2009 TED Talk went viral on YouTube. Now, with that being said, did you know that this phenomenon has actually been around since the time of Aristotle and has actually been studied by many other... All right, hang on, let me start with Aristotle. But did you know that the study of this phenomenon has actually been around since the time of Aristotle? And it's been studied by many other researchers as well. My fascination with grit actually began when I was finishing up my bachelor's degree in psychology. Oh my gosh, I loved everything about studying psychology, especially when we would take a look at specific case studies on resilience. Resilience is closely tied to grit. Oh, you guys, there's my alarm for a Zoom call. Okay, so I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to stop the recording. I need to get prepped for this Zoom call, and then I'll come back to the podcast. Okay, so those of you watching on YouTube, bear with me. This is the only editing I'm going to do, since you probably don't think it's that fascinating to be part of my Zoom call, okay, which is a coaching session. So, all right, we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we're back from the Zoom call. Okay, a little bit of water to get ready, and we'll go back to talking about resilience. Let me find that spot in my notes, you guys. Thanks for bearing with me. Here we go. Let's see. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to start. I think where I left off, I just watched the first part of this, so this should be a good place to start. Resilience is closely tied to grit and usually refers to that optimism, that ability to keep bouncing back from failure. And what really fascinated me about those case studies that I was able to, all right. And what really fascinated me about those case studies that I got a chance to look at in my psychology classes was the fact that some of those subjects, again, oh, no, I didn't say that part. Okay. And what really fascinated me about these case studies is that the subjects in those studies would all have the same horrific background. However, some could really thrive in spite of it all, while others crumbled. So then I began to ask myself, why? What trait or characteristic allows someone with a terrible background to be able to thrive in spite of it, while others just seem to fall apart? Well, that is where grit comes in. Now, definitions can vary, but I define grit as that place within all of us where passion meets determination. I also believe that grit usually includes aspects of courage and tenacity and resolve. That resolve to accomplish your goals no matter what. They just don't quit. It's also that unwavering belief that everything works out the way it should, and it's often accompanied by true joy and energy. Now, if you work on the tips I'm going to share with you today in today's episode, I really believe that you can uncover this power within you so that you can become unstoppable. Now, notice I keep saying uncover. Why is that? It's because I really believe that you already have this characteristic. You already possess this power. All you need is some ideas on how to tap into that personal and professional power. And that is where I come in. As a business coach and consultant, it's really my job to create these strategies and tools that you need to get there. You don't have time for all that. You're busy just trying to live your life and make it the best life possible at work and at home, right? So anyway, back to our story. Now, notice I mentioned courage earlier. Courage, of course, is pretty hard to measure. And even though it is difficult to kind of measure that, it usually is directly proportional to your level of grit. More specifically, your ability to manage fear, especially if it's fear of failure or fear of success, is really oftentimes a predictor of how successful you will be. In other words, those who are supremely gritty are not afraid to tank. They're really not. They just embrace it as part of the process of getting to their goals. They understand that there are valuable lessons in defeat and that the vulnerability of perseverance is oftentimes a prerequisite for high achievement anyway. A way to figure this out is to determine whether you're dependable or are you achievement oriented. Let's look at the difference real quick. The achievement-oriented individual is the one who works, hang on, let me, The achievement-oriented individual is the one who works tirelessly. They try to do a good job and they complete each and every task at hand. Whereas the dependable person is more notably self-controlled and conventional. Let me rephrase that. Whereas the dependable person is more notably self-controlled and conventional. In other words, they don't tend to think outside the box. It can sometimes, definitely affect their creativity and those kinds of things. In fact, did you know that in the latest and greatest studies, researchers have discovered that achievement-oriented traits predicted job proficiency and educational success much better than dependability did. So when you look at it a little deeper, a self-controlled person may never step out of line. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that as a result of that personality characteristic, they tend to take fewer risks, which can then reduce their chances for, like I said, creativity and innovation, all of which can impact whether they reach the same heights as their more achievement-oriented friends. So in other words, in the context of grit, and in the context of success, it's important to commit to the goal of sort of like going for the gold rather than just showing up for practice. You want to commit to that sense of excellence, not perfectionism, but striving for excellence. Now, speaking of practice, you might have heard me mention that just a second ago, right? That you want to go for the gold rather than just showing up for practice. Well, speaking of that, how about this idea? Practice makes perfect. We've all heard that before, right? Well, did you know that in the world of grit, there's actually a little truth to that? In other words, when we're talking about the best of the best, someone like a Bill Gates or somebody like a Steve Jobs, that type of level of success that was very closely tied to innovation and thinking creatively, thinking outside of the box, right? I think with both of those examples of Bill Gates and a Steve Jobs, you can definitely understand that they took huge risks. And had they not been willing to do that, where would those companies be today, right? So the question that often comes up when you think about that level of success is this: how did folks like a Bill Gates build such impossibly powerful spheres of influence? And although the research is pretty consistent on the element of sometimes just being at the right place at the right time, or the element of just dumb luck, there's actually some consistent evidence about that being a factor too. There's actually more and more evidence on the importance of goals, setting those goals and achieving those goals, even if you fail a million times on your way to get there. And in fact, when they've studied the number of hours that someone commits to achieving the highest goals, that's where this idea of practice makes perfect comes in, because those hours are huge. We're talking about a lot of practice, lots and lots of it. 10,000 hours to be exact. Look it up, you guys. It's fascinating. The 10,000 hours is what it typically will take to achieve those huge goals, right? To really make an impact, to really turn that ship around. That's what we're looking at. Now, keep in mind when it comes to practice, the big difference between someone who succeeds and someone who's just spending a lot of time doing something other than what's important is that the practice itself has to have purpose, right? Have you ever been in a situation, you may have heard of this before, where you're at the office and you've got someone that looks really busy. In fact, they're usually looking very stressed out. They're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, and ironically, although they seem really busy, they don't seem to get much done. That's what I'm talking about. That, in other words, there's a big difference between someone who's just practicing, but what they're actually practicing does not give them the desired results. They might be doing some things that they enjoy, but maybe it's not the things they really need to get done to move that needle. So your practice has to have a lot of P's in that one. Okay. So your practice, again, has to have a purpose. That's where long-term goal setting comes in. When you set a long-term goal, they kind of provide the context and framework in which to find the meaning and value of your long-term efforts. Because if you don't do that, oh my gosh, it's so easy to give up. When you're talking about 10,000 hours, again, you can't just do stuff that you really enjoy. Sometimes you've got to give up some of those hours to someone else that can maybe do that as well as you or even better, because your hours have to be spent on things that only you can do to accomplish that goal. I have to do that all the time, you guys. There's so many things I love to do about my business. Like I love recording a podcast episode, but I can't spend all my hours during the week doing that because the bread and butter of my business is not just the podcast. I've got a YouTube channel. I've got workshops and seminars. Did I say workshops right? I have workshops and seminars that I want to do. I have consulting services I want to provide. I have another book I want to write, all those things. So although the podcast is great, is that going to bring me the largest piece of that revenue pie? Maybe, if it goes national, that'd be great. But in the meantime, I've got to make sure that I divide and conquer. I have to make sure I'm spreading those efforts in the way that's going to help my business grow in the most efficient way possible. So that's what I mean. And also, when you think about this, if you set those long-term goals that, again, are going to provide that context and framework, it really will also help cultivate your drive, your sustainability. It will help increase your passion. And it will also increase your courage because once you start checking those items off of your to-do list, in fact, for those of you watching this on YouTube, okay, you guys, I'm going to apologize for the sound, but I'm holding up my checklist, okay? Seriously, this is my to-do list. I customize these. I have these available for my clients, right? So you can see how much I've gotten done. And take a look at this. I've got like 4 things on my to-do list I haven't done today. And part of that is I probably spent too much time on some other things that I could have really done later, but I love it. I just love what I get to do. So again, just like everyone else, I'm in the same boat, you guys. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a little bit of a deeper look on resilience a little bit more. Hang on, let me rephrase it. Okay, you guys, now we talked about resilience being that ability to bounce back, right? But let's take a deeper dive on that. What is it actually? What is it that gives some people the strength to get up, wipe the dust off, and get back up on that horse again, right? That proverbial horse. Well, when you think about resilience, it's really defined as sort of this dynamic combination of optimism and creativity and confidence, which together really empower you to reappraise your situation and kind of helps you control your emotions. You don't take it so personally. You're like, okay, I'm going to put this idea out there. If no one hires me for that, you guys, I have to do that all the time. If I put together a proposal for a client, I think it's awesome. I think this is going to make a difference in their organization. And they keep saying they're going to get back to me and nothing seems to happen. Well, I have to reevaluate. Did I market it in a bad way? Did I not make it clear? Did I give them too much information and they weren't sure what the end result was going to be? Or is it possible they're just really not that interested in putting their money where their mouth is? You get that sometimes. Companies complain all the time about turnover and, why the employees are not giving it their all. But sometimes they will spend more money on, keeping their, copier machines in check. The amount of money that you will spend on the maintenance of a copier machine is more than most consultants ever get for a workshop, seminar, or, interviewing the staff to make sure they're bringing their A game. It's true. So where you put your money is really kind of reflective of the priorities of that organization. So I'm in the same boat. I have to bounce back. I reevaluate to make sure I really am bringing the best value, but I have to make sure that I'm compensated as well. So there are times that I offer my services for free because I really believe in the cause and want to be part of it. But then there are other times when, just like you, I've got to bounce back and go, okay, I've evaluated this, I've tweaked this and tweaked that. That company is just not going to be a good fit for me because they just don't understand my message and what I can do. So no hard feelings, and I move on. Because who knows? That company's leadership might change and they may get it. And they may want to invest in their employees and make a difference. Okay? So again, I can't take that personally. I have to bounce back. So I would like to think that I have a lot of resilience and grit, because I've been so passionate about it. And the minute that I read that case study all those years ago in college, I thought, wow, that's what it's called. That's why some people, can get through it and others can't. Now, that's not to say that everybody is in that same boat. I mean, if you've got a true disability or a diagnosis of depression or something, it doesn't matter how gritty you are. It doesn't matter if you've got all the resilience in the world, you're dealing with different barriers and obstacles. So I'm really speaking in general terms that most of us can control this or at least improve it. Okay. Now, here's some 3 basic principles to really think about. These are the 3 factors that most researchers sort of take into account when they think that someone is uncovering their grit and really becoming unstoppable. Okay. So think about this and ask yourself, how do you feel about this question or these 3 questions? Okay. So let's take a look at number 1. The belief that one can find meaningful purpose in life. So again, ask yourself, do I really feel that or do I not? Because if you really don't think somebody can find meaning and purpose in their life, then that mindset right there is going to hold you back from being able to get through all of the things that life may throw in your path. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, the belief that one can influence one's surroundings and the outcome of events. Now, I'm going to have a disclaimer on this one because I can't support the entire second sentence of this, the second belief. I personally believe that you can influence your surroundings to some extent because you can influence and choose who you spend time with, what career you're going to go into, what city you live in, all those kinds of things. You have a lot of power in deciding all of those factors that make up where you are in your life, who is in your life, and what you do in your life. However, I don't believe you can truly influence the outcome of the event. You can in the sense that you can take care of everything on your side of the street, give it 110%, yes. But the outcome, in my opinion, is really out of your hands. You can influence it, again, by giving your best shot. You don't want to give up and think, well, that won't change anything. How do you know that? It doesn't matter if you've tried 1,000,000 times. 1,000,001, that could be the special light bulb moment, right? Now, of course, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So again, you have to approach it in the right mindset as far as how much influence you're going to put out there. You can't do the same thing over and over again, but you can keep approaching it differently to see if that affects the outcome. Okay, so I just wanted to explain that second belief a little bit more in more detail. Let me rephrase that. So I just wanted to explain that second belief and sort of what I agree with and what I don't agree with in just a little bit more detail. Okay, you guys, number 3, the third belief that really can affect how resilient you are and whether you're truly going to uncover your grit and become unstoppable is the belief that positive and negative experiences, that both of those will lead to learning and growing. You see, you got to take the good and the bad. And it's human nature to let the negative affect you more. Why? It's a survivor instinct, right? It's just like, when you're in survivor mode, the bad things are what you're really trying to protect yourself from. That's how come when I work with clients in companies and organizations, oftentimes it's the pain of what they're going through that's going to lead to that growth. It's great and easy, right? When everything is easy and great. It's when things are difficult that usually people need help. And that's understandable. So the negative experiences, those are going to lead to growth, and so will the positive. So just remember, if you can cultivate those 3 aspects, okay? Again, number 1, the belief that one can find meaning and purpose in their lives. Number 2, the belief that one can influence your surroundings and the outcome of events. And number 3, the belief that positive and negative experiences will lead to learning and growth. Then you are on your way to becoming unstoppable. Now, again, they're going to impact your ability to uncover that grit that we know is there. And if you do that, again, there's nothing that can stand in your way. Now that you have a better understanding of what grit is, let me point out just a couple things that it's not, okay? It's not just working hard. Sometimes working hard does not pay off. Now you're probably thinking, did I just hear her correctly? Well, I can assure you, let me say that again. Well, I can assure you that you actually did. You heard me correctly because you can get to a turning point where productivity actually goes down, not up, if you're spreading yourself too thin. So that's what I mean by working too hard and it not paying off. It's like that old adage, working smarter, not harder. That's what I really mean. Okay. So keep in mind that grit is not that. And by the way, one way to find out if you have this tendency to spread yourself too thin is to ask yourself this question. Have I ever been accused of being a workaholic? Okay. And if not, do you believe you have this tendency right below the surface? And it could come bubbling up to the surface at any moment and turn you into a full-blown workaholic if you're not careful. Well, I understand this, you guys, because that was me. And as a recovering workaholic, I want you to benefit from the lessons I have to share. In fact, let me rephrase that. In fact, I'll probably cover that in a future episode. I have a YouTube video about, not working so hard and ways to work smarter. And I also have a YouTube video about work ethic. And I talk about how work ethic and being a workaholic are not the same thing. So check out the YouTube channel for that. But I don't think I've done one specifically on making sure you're not a workaholic in the podcast. So I'll be sure to cover that in a future episode. But for now, just realize that uncovering your grit so that you can become unstoppable in achieving your goals is not the same. Okay? And just to be clear, having a passion for your work and your life is also not the same. So just keep that in mind. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed stopping in for today's episode. And if you're watching us on YouTube for this special behind the scenes look at episode 20, I look forward to you joining us the next time. But in the meantime, don't forget our motto right here at Shop Talk. And it's this: if you're not having a fantastic day, you have the power to make it one. All right, should I do the wrap up one more time? No, I think that was good. All right, I'll do it one more time just to be on the safe side. I don't think I was losing my breath, but just in case. Okay, here we go. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed stopping in for today's episode. And if you're watching us on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at episode 20. I look forward to you, of course, always joining us the next time. But in the meantime, don't forget our motto here at Shop Talk. And it's this: if you're not having a fantastic day, you have the power to make it one. I might have liked that second one better. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like and share. If you're watching us on YouTube, comment below. Always give us ideas for future episodes as well. I forgot to mention that in the podcast, but do that. I love getting your feedback. In fact, your feedback has been sort of the basis on these past few episodes. So continue to do that. We just love you guys, love your support, especially if you've listened to the very end. Take care and have a wonderful day. Or, like I said earlier, make sure that you make it a wonderful day. See you soon.
I know our episode is over, but this is just the beginning. If you're ready to take action but don't know where to start, just head over to DrDawnShopTalk.com for lots of free resources, ways to work together, and for even more. Subscribe to the Dr. Dawn Shop Talk YouTube channel. Remember, ladies, you don't have to take this journey alone. I've got you covered. Till next time.